Factoring that we're going to be talking about is what's called the difference of two perfect squares. Now, before we get to that, it's going to be really helpful if you recognize your perfect squares. So let's go ahead and list those first. Okay, so the square root of 1 is exactly 1. Square root of 4 is exactly 2, right? Because it's 2 times 2 gives you that 4. That's what that square root symbol means. What number multiplied by itself twice gives you that number? And then square root of 9 is 3. Square root of 16 is 4. Square root of 25 is 5. Square root of 36 is 6. Square root of 49 is 7. Square root of 64 is 8. Square root of 81 is 9. Square root of 100 is 10. Square root of 121 is 11. And square root of 144 is 12. So if you recognize these numbers, it will make some of these problems much easier. Now, what you're going to see is you're going to see what's the difference. So this word difference means that you have a subtraction problem. So if you notice, all the problems on this page are subtraction problems. And you're going to see the difference of two things. So notice all these problems only have two terms. So you have two things being subtracted. And each term is going to be a perfect square. So you're going to see something in this form. So you have something squared minus something else squared. And the way that you factor it is it's going to factor into two parentheses. One is the square root of the first term, and then one signs a plus, the other signs a minus. And the second term is the square root of that second term in the original problem. So let's go through a couple problems here. So notice all these problems on this page is the difference. They all have a minus sign, and you have two perfect squares. So it's only two things being subtracted. So when you see that, we know that all of these will factor into two sets of parentheses. So I'm going to set up my parentheses. If the first term is x squared, that means that the square root of x squared has to be x and x. Those are the only things that multiply to x squared. And one sign will be a minus, and the other one will be a plus. If you flip it, it's fine, it doesn't matter. And then the square root of 4 is 2, so it's going to be 2 and 2. So that's how you factor the difference of two perfect squares. Now, if you write it like this is also correct. It doesn't matter if you flip the whole entire parentheses. Okay, so let's try the next one. So all of these are going to set up as two parentheses. So since the first term is x squared, we start with an x. One sign's a plus, the other one's a minus. Square root of 1, look up at the top if you need to, is 1. So x plus 1, x minus 1. Try the next one. Same thing, set up your parentheses. It's going to be x, x. One's a plus, one's a minus. 49 is a perfect square root. It's going to be 7 and 7. Okay, let's try a couple more. Parentheses. Notice here, your first term is the 9, so you have to start with the 3. It has to be written in order. So we start with the 3. One's a plus, one's a minus. Then your second term is x squared, so the second term in your parentheses become x and x. Same thing here. You start with the 1. One's a plus, one's a minus. You have x and x. Okay, now look at the next one. Notice you have a 9x squared. So because you have the 9, square root of 9 is 3, but then notice you also have the x squared with that. So you also have an x and an x. So really, your first term is 3x and 3x. One's a plus, one's a minus. Square root of 4 is 2 and 2. Okay, let's try one more together. Set up your parentheses. Square root of 81 is 9, but there's x squared also, so it's 9x, 9x. One's a plus, one's a minus. Then you've got 64, which is 8, but you've got a y squared there as well. So one's 8y, the other one's also 8y. Okay, go ahead and try the rest of this page on your own, and you can check your answers on our Schoology page.